Gozoscope, Periscope, Coffee Scope. Good morning. How are you guys? So excited to be here with you again on this lovely day, on this beautiful Thursday morning. Got my orange on here to bring you joy every morning. Good morning, Shelly. Thank you for being here. What a great Thursday this is. Here to bring you joy and to provide those gozo hearts for the whole family. This is your daily dose of gozo, your daily dose of joy, Jamba Juice for the soul. Living la vida gozo. Living on Gozo Street so we can stop living on Failure Street, which is where many people unfortunately live. Having that perspective, that joy that I define as contentment in our soul. And actually it's to have contentment in our circumstances and to have gratitude in our souls. And that to me is what gozo is about. I call it the ACL experience, to living a life of adventure, grace in crisis, and discovering who, what you love. ACL. Welcome, everyone. Glad to be here with you. Talking about how to overcome anxiety, fear, and depression. Things that we need to talk about. And also, once in a while, I give you a bit of a back end kind of a peek into the behind the scenes of my gozo business. I've been an entrepreneur since March of 2014, building an organization called Gozo, G-O-Z-O, which means joy in Spanish, where I, in a bilingual manner, Spanish and English, I help people find grace through anxiety. But today I want to talk to you about learning and why learning is so important. Nah, it's actually not that important. Or is it? So we're going to talk about the value of learning, or is it really that valuable? But before I get into that, make sure that you invite your friends, you come into the Gozo doors, that you bring gozo flowers for the whole family, which are those hearts, so that we all can experience a true sense of joy, contentment in our souls, gratitude in our circumstances. So before I do that, I normally have my coffee of the day, because having a cup of coffee is nothing like it. So I already put in the poison. I actually went and bought some new poison because yesterday I ran out. So I went to Smart & Final on sale. I got, I think, a big bottle for $5.95 or something like that. So a good deal. So I already heated up my poison with my coffee. I call my creamer poison because that's what it is. Let's see what today's blend tastes like. A little bitter, but sometimes, because I think I mentioned this is the espresso blend, sometimes it's a little bit stronger. So I feel like I am growing leaps and bounds here. Breathing in that beautiful oxygen. Man, what a beautiful, glorious day. By the way, before I get into learning, I've been worried about my dog, Daisy the dog. She tore her ACL about 9 months ago, and it's $5,000 to repair it, which is, not only is that obviously a deal, but they say that once your dog has some sort of, ACL, and she's a pit bull mix, so, she's just like really strong. Her legs are everything. So she's been kind of down because she twisted her knee again. So anyway, just real gozo here, something that I'm bummed about. Just helping her, just trying to figure out kind of what to do. Really, the bottom line is we just have to help her through it, and not much we can do to, quote, fix her, except pray for my dog. So, learning is everything. You hear that. Or is it? Well, here's my take on learning and why I think that it's overrated. My story is one of learning. And maybe like you've always heard, and it's true to some degree, that leaders are learners. And as creatives, as empaths, as healers, as compassionate types, as counselor types, as Falcons, Aries, INFJs, whatever your blend is, we love input. I love input. So in the last 10 years, I have been a lifelong learner. Well, since I was a young man, actually. But for example, I've always loved music. So about 10, 12 years ago, I went and enrolled myself in a music school. For 2 years, I took voice, piano, choir, classical guitar, sight reading, sight singing, learned all about theory and all of the left brain aspect of music. And as a musician, it gave me life. I felt like I was growing leaps and bounds, being around some of the best musicians ever. And then, as I mentioned, I had a chance to work at USC for almost 3 years. So I was surrounded by some of the best musicians in the world, cellists, choir members, classical guitarists, guys that you might see on TV one of these days. Another time, just in the last maybe, I would say 24 months, I learned all about digital marketing in the online space. Everything about landing pages and squeeze pages and sideways sales, and about content marketing, or other people call it relational marketing, about how to build your own website, and how to have an e-commerce page on your website, on how to start a podcast, on how to put together a web TV show, how to do live webcasting, and all that you have to do to start an online business, or an online / real world business. Before that, maybe more like 5-6 years ago, I learned all about bodybuilding and weight training, because at the time I was about 40 pounds overweight. And so I knew, I was maybe in my mid-30s at the time, 46 now. So it's been almost 9-10 years. I knew, obviously, that I was not healthy. And so I went and bought all the books, had an actual personal trainer, got into CrossFit. Actually, that was more recently. But during that time, I learned all about nutrition. I learned all about bodybuilding. I studied the experts, Dave Draper, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all of that Venice Beach muscle head era of the 60s and 70s. I got just completely immersed in their way of thinking. And without any drugs or steroids, I was able to shape my body and to completely change my mind and how my body worked. My energy was through the roof. I was eating cleanly. This is before all of the crazy green healthy eating of the last 4 or 5 years. This is even before, if you guys remember, all of the those green packages that came out that were all like, what do they call those? I don't know. I forget. Like carb free. Remember all the carb free craziness of the mid 90s? So before that, right around that time, but before that, I just felt like it was time to get my body in shape. Then one of the things that I'm probably just, I guess, the most proud of is just simply being, yeah, exactly, a musclehead, huh? Just really investing in my marriage. And we've been married 20 years. So I think we've been married maybe 13 or 14 years. And we were just beginning to notice how we were not doing things together anymore. We were at child number 3. We had been married, like I said, maybe 12, 13 years. And we were beginning to see the cracks in our communication, in our financial budget, in our dating life, in our sex life, in our, conflict resolution, and all the real stuff of a real marriage. This is not, the Kardashians here. This is real life. And not only real life, but real pursuit of joy in marriage. So my wife and I went through 6 months of huge therapy where we looked at everything from our kind of like division of labor, meaning doing the dishes and changing the oil, to communication, to forgiveness. We actually went through a whole book on how to forgive just things where we had hurt one another, just attitudes, things that we would say to each other, maybe hurts that we were hiding. And we actually went through a workbook with a counselor for about 3 to 6 months, where I remember we literally sat, as they call it, knee to knee, and we read, forgiveness letters to each other. Try that for more than a couple of days. You will either run or you will have an amazing marriage. Dennis Rainey, of course, back in those days, he was so monumental for a lot of people. So the point is that learning is life, but is it? Nah. Here's where we're at now, right? 2015, 2016, 2020 is just around the corner. You believe that? Have you heard of a thing called Google? And the internet? Learning is a waste of time. Now, here's what I mean, okay? Learning, as in the gathering of information, is a waste of time. Why? Because nowadays, everyone is an expert on nothing. Everyone is a guru or a life coach or a wisdom person based on, I won't say it, but it starts with an S, based on junk. Because they read it online or because they have someone's blog that they keep up with, they are now an expert and they're selling you junk. Okay? So learning is nothing. The acquiring of knowledge. Now, I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about 6 months of being in counseling with your wife knee to knee. That kind of learning, I'm all for. 2 years of being in a choir room with a coach that's helping you learn how to sight sing your way through an Italian aria, I'm all for that. But the kind of learning that is happening these days is vanity, as you said, Shelley, is a waste of time because it's not coming from a place of life and of integrity and of integration with the grace through your crisis. So I'm just speaking some real truth here. Just trying to cut through all the junk of, quote, hey, buy this product because I just read this online and so now you're going to make $1 million like I did. Are you serious? You know what a lot of this stuff reminds me of? It's all of the slimy late night commercials I used to watch when I shouldn't have been up when I was 14, 15 years old. All this, whatever it was called back in those days, people selling you stuff, or the magazines, remember, that your grandma used to get? That was like stuff that you could buy like at the store for half the price, but they would jack up the prices and then on credit, at 20% interest, they would send it to you. I mean, it's just slimy. So to me, learning is, I won't say it again, but you know what I mean. It starts with an S. Learning is that. Now, so what kind of learning can we do? So how do we reach the next level? Maybe you're someone who is saying, I just don't have the confidence to do my first product or to start that nonprofit or to speak in public or to write a book or to just simply get my master's degree and go to the next level as a teacher, as an educator. So how do you then move up, or how do you then improve yourself? So I have a few tips, okay? So here it is. I wrote down some things. Here is the big idea. Here is why you should even do anything related to learning, growing, watching things, including this Periscope, but including all the stuff that I do as well as anybody. You know, some of you are watching so much stuff that your whole day is about watching people. So here it is. Here is what's going to cut through all of that. And I'm here to help you. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to help you move along in your life of joy. Here it is. The reason why you should do anything in terms of learning and inputting is if it's going to give you the guts to do something about it. There it is. If it's going to give you the guts, and let me put it this way, learning will give you the guts to do something and to pursue your God-given adventure. That's why learning is important. And so what you have to do is to then discern and to ask yourself, is this particular learning, meaning what I'm watching online, what the courses that I'm taking at the local city college, the blogs that I'm reading, is this input, is this learning giving me the guts to actually pursue my God-given adventure? That's it. And your answer is yes, or maybe, or no. There is no other answer. And I don't even know why I threw that maybe in there. Let me be more black and white. The answer is either yes or no. Listening is not learning. Just because I enjoy eating Chinese food at Panda Express doesn't mean that I am actually learning how to speak Mandarin. What is it they say? Just because I'm in a car in a garage doesn't mean that I'm a car. Something like that. You get my point. Pursue the things that give you the guts. Okay, so that's the big idea. Now, I have two things on how to discern what things you should pursue and what things you should be learning or absorbing or letting into your brain, into your time, into your life. Because we all have limited time, right? So here are two things to help you discern what you should do, what you should pursue, what degree, what next step you should take or not take. So hopefully these will help you. Number one is make sure that your learning is in the same direction. What I mean by that is that, for example, back to my case, I grew up playing the guitar since I was like in the womb. So when it was time for me to go to music school, I didn't do this purposely, but my life was guiding me. God and the Spirit within, and just simply, you know, like the kind of like intuition was leading me. You know what? I didn't become a dog trainer. I never took classes on dog training. I never took classes on how to build airplanes. I have never taken classes or watched videos online on how to build roofs or how to make my own food. All great things that people are into. But that's not learning in the same direction for what my life is about. I don't teach music, actually. I love it, but I'm now mostly doing other things with anxiety. But I do have some great friends here in the area that do teach music. But the point is, let your learning be in the same direction. Let it be converging. So for example, again, when I learned all about, another thing that I didn't mention is speaking. I went through maybe like 6 months of just relentlessly evaluating all of my speaking in front of people, online, at conferences. It was painful, I'm telling you. I recorded everything I said. Well, for the first maybe like 3-6 months, I ignored recording myself because I hated hearing me. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? But when I got serious about speaking, exactly, all of those tools are amazing. Again, my life was saying, I am meant to be speaking. I am meant to be inspiring. Music is a huge thing. And so the point is, learn things that are going in the same direction. Again, I'm not learning how to build airplanes, much less now at midlife at 46. I'm not going to go and enroll in a 5-week or a 5-month course on how to rebuild engines. It would be great to do that. But I'm encouraging you, learn things in the same direction. And eliminate all of those things that are things that you hope you would do one day. You know how many people I meet that call me, that message me, that email me with their questions, that say, you know what, I want to learn how to play the saxophone. I have this friend who's always telling me that. Guess what her gifting is? And when I look at her life, she is an attorney. She's maybe like months away from taking the bar exam, and she probably will be on the Supreme Court one day. That's the quality of person she is. I'm not talking about not having hobbies, okay? Hobbies are great. But when she talks to me, she's saying, I want to spend the next 2 years learning how to play the saxophone. I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you doing with that? Now, hey, go and check out a YouTube class, or if you want to take salsa, go to the local community center, pick it up, absolutely. But if you're going to learn something, again, I'm talking some real gozo here, trying to improve your life and to have a life of joy. Eliminate all of those things that are not learning, things that are not moving you in the same direction as your life. You're like, well, I don't know what my life is. I don't know what my direction is. Listen to your life. Okay, number 2. That's the first one, is learn in the same direction. And then number 2 is really what I've been saying all along, is do something about it. Do something. Thank you so much, by the way, friends that are inviting for Yavi Official from Mexico City. Welcome. Bienvenidos. Qué bueno que estamos aquí juntos. These are Gozo Hearts we're all bringing to the Gozo party here together. So bienvenidos. Welcome, everybody. So again, the second thing in terms of learning, if you're going to invest in learning, make sure first that it's in the same direction, and second, that you're doing something about it. Here's a quick fact. You know Tony Robbins, right? If you're into motivational speakers and into all this, you know that he is an amazing motivator. He recently put out a report of his cart, meaning the products that he sells. And he wasn't talking about money. You know what he was talking about? Open rates. So if you go and buy a Tony Robbins product, a book, an online course, a DVD series, a video series, that'll cost you anywhere between $500 to $5,000, you're investing obviously a lot of money, right? In something that really inspired you. You know what he said? That the open rate, because he can chart all these things on his website, what the percentage of people that actually open. Claro que hablo español, sí, bienvenidos, querido amigo, claro que hablo español. Este programa es bilingüe. This is a bilingual program. I do some of these scopes in Spanish and some of them in English. His open rate is 1 to 3%. 1 to 3% of the people that spend thousands of dollars on his products even open it. Forget that they listen to it, sit with it for hours, take notes, find a coach to actually help them accomplish those dreams that they have. 1 to 3% of people that spend thousands of dollars even open that email with a link to the video series. Do something about it. Don't learn anything that doesn't motivate you and give you the guts to do something. And then most of all, audit yourself. Go back over the last 3 months of your life, even the last 3 weeks, 3 days, and say, is all the stuff that I'm consuming, quote, as a learning, place, is it stuff that I'm actually doing? If not, turn off the computer, turn off your phone, get off this show even, and go and implement and execute on the stuff you already learned. Or even better, take a paper or on your app on your phone, write down the 10 things that you, quote, want to do, and cross off 9 of them. And only leave the 1 or 2 that are actually in alignment with who you are. And here's a tip. They're probably the things that are the least exciting, the most boring, the more mundane, the things that you are the most afraid of. Man, I am changing somebody's life right now. That is exactly what it looks like. I've always been afraid of creating in public. I am great at creating in private or to a few friends. I'm great at kind of like letting things just happen to me. I'm great at hoping for the best, but to actually execute against a a self-created deadline and put it on the calendar is where I have changed my life. It's what I've done differently. Stop learning unless 3 things. It's giving you guts. Second, unless it's actually in alignment and moving in the same direction as your life. And third, unless it's helping you do something about it. Stop learning and start believing. Start taking radical action on what you already know. And here's one last tip. Take that list of 10 things, erase 8 of them, 9, okay? Leave just 1 or 2. And again, it's probably the things that you're the most afraid of. They're the most boring. And then be accountable to 3 people. First of all, to yourself and to God. Second, to a public place, not Facebook, okay? Not online. But I mean to like a small group of people that really support you. It could be someone at church. It could be some friends. And then lastly, be accountable to one partner. One person. We live in a society of input maniacs, of input addicts. We're no longer, well, not that it doesn't happen. We're no longer drug addicts or sex addicts or whatever addicts. We are now input addicts. We are now emotionally constipated. And we'll do another scope maybe later this week on emotional constipation. Because I would say those are the 2 dangers of our society at large. Is input, as I call it, analysis paralysis, but really more than analysis. We don't analyze anymore. Actually, now we're we're paralyzed by input. So we're input constipated and emotionally constipated. And so my hope is that this Gososcope will help you discern and to be a voice of reason in an era of unreason. My name is davidTrig. And I really hope that the truth of real Goso, of these, as someone said, a Goso talk, I love that, will help you really live a life of joy, a life of Goso, where you are pursuing your God-given adventure, the ACL experience, finding grace, thank you, Shelley, finding grace in crisis, that's the C, and discovering who you love, that's CL. To have true joy, which is what I call having contentment in our soul and gratitude in our circumstances. My name is davidTrig. You can go to my blog, davidtrig.com. You can go to my website where I have all of my podcasts. You can find me on Twitter at davidTrig or on Instagram at davidTrigLA. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the Goso Hearts, for inviting followers, for inviting people. Watch this video later today on all of my outlets, YouTube, Facebook, my blog, so that you can review it or on Catch. You can also see it there again. Thank you again. Have a great rest of this day.